Hello guys, and welcome to Tutorials by Gabriel. I'm going to be showing you the basics around this program, the interface, but first I need you to get the new Blender version. You can head over to blender.org, and once we're there, you go to download Blender, you choose your version, and you download. The newest version is 2.63a. This is the one we're going to be working with. One thing I wanted to show you before we start with our tutorial is the gallery. That's blender.org. Here are pictures posted by advanced users of this program, and here you can take a look what is possible with this program. I mean, we're not going to be going that far, but you can get an idea of what are the capabilities of this program. You can, I don't know, to show you something. Okay, but we're not that advanced yet, so we're gonna start with Blender. You can open Blender. Open that, so we can start working. Here is Blender 2.63. We're gonna maximize it. Now this little button is for full screen. I don't know if you like working in full screen, but you can maximize so you can use more screen. We have our default screen, which is a default cube. First, a little thing for laptop users, which I got in my other video. If you don't have a middle mouse button, you have to go to File, User Preference, and click right here, Emulate 3-button mouse, and then Save as Default. When you do that, the Alt key is automatically used as the middle mouse. Right now I'm pressing my Alt key, and I can use all the functions like I'd be using with the middle mouse. But for now we're going to be using, for those who have middle mouse, let's just use the middle mouse. For example, if you just click the middle mouse and you move your mouse around, you rotate your view. Shift and middle mouse pans your view, so you can move your camera but without rotating. And Control and middle mouse, you can zoom in and zoom out. Use the middle mouse button as a zooming element. Okay, so that's it with the mouse. One thing I wanted to show you is, let's see what we can start with. So we're going to be start using our controls like I used to. I said in my other tutorials. Right now they place like this left task pane, or whatever you can call it. So you can just press the button and use the same functions. But first, always remember to select translate. What it does is it moves it. Rotate, of course, rotates. Now, what's not very comfortable about this is, for example, I press the translate button, and you can see where my mouse cursor is, and it's not very comfortable to control when it's not right there. So we're going to be using shortcut keys. G for moving, like wrap. R for rotating, and S for size. Now, if you also remember, you can use lock on axis. So for example, if I press the G key and then I press the X key, it only moves on the X axis. If I press the R key and the Y key, it only rotates around the Y axis. And you can get the idea of that. Now, what we see here is not what the camera sees. There's this camera. This is the default view, which I'm using like normal view, which I can move around with my middle mouse button. But over here in view, you can select all the default views. View back. Of course, there's shortcuts. You can use shortcuts if you're more comfortable. But there's the one that interests me is if I render this image, I'm looking at this point of view. But when I render image, I see something different than what I'm actually looking at. I'm going to press the escape key. For example, let's just make it more obvious. There, I made it like this. I am looking at that, but when I render image, you see I can see absolutely nothing. And that's because you need to, in order to see what the renderer sees, you need to go into view, camera, and that's what the camera sees. This is why we were not getting an image at all. So if you select the object and you do the same commands before, the G key, you can now, for example, choose what is going to be rendered. There. F12, and you see it right there, escape. Now what really, if you move your camera, then you get out of camera key. Now what really interests me is this new I think it's a new function. I didn't see it before in the other Blender, in the other version. If this little button right here, for example, let's just say, I don't know, let me show you the camera view. Where is it? Right here. Let's leave it, I don't know, right there. So if I press the F12 key, I'm going to be getting this. Now let's just say that I move my view around and I want to render that image. If I want to render that point of view, it's kind of uncomfortable to be moving the camera around like you have to do in other versions. Now if you just press this little button, you get the active view rendered, and so you can render what you're actually seeing. Now in this cube you don't see much difference between the rendered view and what we're working on, but in like I showed you before in the gallery and more advanced stuff, yeah, you get a lot of difference actually. Okay, so like I showed you in my other tutorial with the other version, smooth, flat, like gives you this little clear effect. The shading, you can leave it flat now. If you want to give some color, some might have some screens that it depends on the resolution. You might have to make this bigger so you can see this little part. And we're going to be going over here to diffuse and leaving Lambert. The other ones like this, they give this effect, but the most common one to use is Lambert. And you can just choose your color and I don't know, just leave it blue, purple. You can leave it there. For example, right now if I duplicate my object, remember Shift D or duplicate from here. This is their shortcut, Shift D, and you can make an object that looks just like that one. Pretty basic commands. Let's just say you want to make this one bigger and then move it around. Actually, I'm going to start again. I want to show you something. File, new. It says OK to reload startup file. OK. So we get the default view, default cube, everything. If you mess up, you can start always from here, file, new, or Control N. Wait, there. Let me just shift pan my view and let me see. Select this object. Oh yeah, if you want to create other types of objects, you can go to the add menu, which is a lot easier, or you can click anywhere, press the space bar and search. For example, if I want to add another cube, add cube, and just press enter, another cube gets created. And if you want to add, for example, I'm going to be showing you something that's pretty cool. Text. You can add text. Let's move it around just like any other object. But if you want to, you can see from this point of view, right now it looks like it's at the same level, but if you look from here, you can see that it's not. So we're going to press the G key and the Z key, so it moves up and down. Z key is up and down. And then if you want to edit what the text says, you're going to go to object mode right here and click edit mode. And then you just press whatever you want. Just type in hello, for example, I don't know. And then go back to object mode. And you can treat this like any other object. You can resize it. You can rotate it around the X key. That's some pretty cool effect. And then let's see some part of the interface. Right here we have the image, render image button, like the camera. Actually, yeah, that's just that. Animation is we're going to cover this in other tutorials. That's for when you're rendering an animation. That just starts rendering all the frames. So start at 1 and at 250. You can see how it starts rendering. I'll press the escape key to cancel. Double click. And then, well, I just pretty much show you this. You have the grease pencil right here, which is used. I don't know really what people might use this for, but you can draw lines, and it takes them like objects. You can push the line, and or you can use the poly key to create polygons. For example, right there. You can make a polygon, but and an escape key to cancel. But I really don't know what that might be for. You might give it some use. And well, that's about it. I think there's nothing more. Oh yeah, I want to show you the. Where is it? Let me find it. Wait, no. Just one sec. Here it is. Layers. In the camera little bitmap, what are you gonna call it? There's this thing called layers. We're gonna open that thing up, and scene. Start again so I can show you this effect better. Go to layers, and for example, I don't know, we have this scene right here, and then Shift D, and then we have this other scene where we can space add monkey, for example. I don't know, G, rotate. So you can work on different like work areas, different. That's pretty useful. And then of course when you render only the current scene. If you want to change world, here you can choose the color. When you render, you know how you get this gray background? You can choose real sky, blend sky, and then choose the colors. We're gonna put this lighter colors, say blue, and you may play with these options around and get the color you want. Maybe you're gonna let's make it pretty realistic. Let's get in red, yellow. So when you render this, you can see how you get different. This is not very. Let's try with this. Yeah, it's getting pink because of the type of horizon. I chose this horizon. Let's try it right there. Well, you can play with these options, right? It's really stars. Maybe you can put in some stars. It's really very open. All you have to do is try to discover. You can play around. Of course, if you always mess up, you go to new, and the options are also you're not gonna, by playing with this type of buttons and trying these things, you're not gonna mess any configuration settings. So don't worry. You can just try to experiment and get the effect you want. Let's check it. Oh yeah, the light. Let me see what's going on. Oh, of course, yeah. In this scene, there's no light, so that's why there is getting like this black image. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a light, a lamp. You can choose, I don't know, a point. So now, if you see, now we're getting this better image. That's gonna be covered in tutorial. So you can, of course, a lamp is like a lamp in real life. It illuminates. See how now we got a better image. Always remember to do that in scenes, otherwise you're not gonna get a very pleasant view. Of course, you did notice that the background stayed the same, so that's not going to change. You can play with stuff. I mean, it adds different kind of things. So I hope that you like this tutorial. And I hope I will be posting more tutorials soon, but that's about it. So thank you for watching.